Yeah, good morning once again. Welcome to today's class. Today's class will be focusing majorly on HTML and we'll be making use of Visual Studio Code. I hope most of everyone has gotten their Visual Studio Code ready because right from this moment on, we'll be using Visual Studio Code and I don't want anyone to be lacking behind because that is the major tool that is being used currently in in the market in the tech world. There is averagely out of 100%, if 10 developers are gathered together, they are just going to be one or two that will not be using VS Code. So I hope we have our VS Code ready and we are ready to go into the class today. So as we all knew in the last class, we talked about a lot of things, but one of the things we talked about in the last class was HTML, which is basically the structure of the website, which is the structure of any web page in the world, be it be it America, be it Japan. HTML is the structure of every web page. And the simple word for HTML is hypertext markup language, which has developed over time from HTML1, HTML2, HTML3, HTML4, and HTML5, which was first developed in 2020, in 2001, then reintroduced in 2002. Yeah, so which makes use of more semantic tags than than before, and which make use of semantic tag and also non-semantic tag. I made mention of semantic tag in the last class, which are tags that define a specific role of what the content inside are doing, such as the H1 tag, which stands for heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, up to heading 6. And also, we have the article, we have the navigation, we have the footer, we have the header. So those are just semantic tags that, okay, once you have an header in your code, this is basically your header. You have your navigation, it stands for your navigation. You have an article, which stands for the body of the element. You have a figure tag, and you have a footer. A footer is the last part of your website. Probably it has the logo of the company, some different URL. It also has the social media links on the right hand side, and it has a copyright below the screen. So that is the footer of a website. That is the semantic structure of an HTML page. And we also talked about non-semantic tag, which include divs, divs and span. Basically, divs are a non-semantic tag, and someone asks what's the difference between a div and a tag. Is sorry, a div and a section rather. A div is a non-semantic tag. A section is also a non-semantic tag. They are both similar because they are used to group stuff together in HTML where you're writing your code. And also some other HTML semantic tag we talked about last week was in the last class, which was on Wednesday, was the p tag, the image tag, the UL tag, the text area, the form, and so many other things, which we will be diving deep into today. So as we go now, we would be starting up with VS Code, and I'll be starting up my VS Code. And if you have any question, please do not unmute. Kindly raise up your hand, or you drop it in the chat box, and I'll definitely respond to you. So, yeah. Here is my plain Visual Studio Code. Once you open your Visual Studio Code, you would have a plain sheet like this. No file is intact. I have my folder open. I just created a folder, named it HTML class, and I'll be creating my first file. So if I'm creating an HTML file, what is the extension I'm going to be putting behind it? Can someone just drop it in the chat box so I can see we all know the extension we would follow if. Well, Bolatife, you're already jumping the gun. Definitely, they are going to be assignment and they'll be submitted. Don't worry. When it's time for assignment, you will definitely know how to submit your assignment. So I see people are following, and it's just a standard practice that you name your first page index.html because it's also a search engine optimization. If you upload your site on a server now and you want Google to read it, most people don't really know the name of a website. Peradventure for me, if I'm in an area and the next thing I just want to do is I'm looking for a restaurant. I don't know the nearest restaurant around me. The next thing I'm just going to put on Google is restaurant around me. And it gives me a list of restaurants. The reason when you see some restaurants comes higher above each other is because one, their reviews, which they have, and also their search engine optimization. What search engine optimization does is to give your site more visibility. If you put in special keywords like restaurant, food, anything relating to restaurant, food, drinks, once a user types in food into Google, on the first page, those are, and it's well optimized. Those are some of the first things you will see that are related to your website. Okay, these are food, these are restaurants around me that sells this kind of food, and they like that is what your index page does. So it is a good practice that your first entry point to every page of your website is your index.html. Though you can name it anything, like I said, you can name it dog.html, goat.html, airplane.html, but it's just a standard practice that you name your first index page HTML, index.html, and every other one you can name it according to what you want to do. Probably your website is going to have an about us page, it's going to have a contact us page, it's going to have a blog page that you can now name every other one, but your index.html is your first entry point of every website. Though you can name it home.html, it doesn't matter. So as we did in the last class, we would have our doc type. And also the next thing we are going to have is our HTML. You can see I have an extension on my VS Code which is called Emmet abbreviation. It is something that most people have on their system, because most times you want to write a syntax and you might know the syntax you want to write, but you trying to write the first closing and opening and closing tag is going to be too much work. So you just give, once you have written the first 4 letters and you close it, it just automatically fills it for you. And the next thing we are going to write in front of it is the language, which is ENG. So I said extension. If you want to download your Emmet extension, just you will see on the left hand side of your screen. On the left hand side of your screen, you will see 4 boxes which stands for extension. Just click on it and search for Emmet abbreviation. Just search for Emmet. You will see a lot of them, and it comes. You just search for Emmet abbreviation and you download it. Another thing we'll actually be needing is, because now all the codes are written on our local machine here. How do you want to view it on the browser? Can someone tell me what I need to do to view most of this code on the browser? What am I going to do to view my code on my browser? Does anyone know? Okay, live server, that is good. There's an extension in VS Code called live server, which everyone has to. You don't necessarily need a live server, actually. I can actually just do this. Okay, let me show you a way to do this. I can just come to this place and I do this. Okay, I don't have it on a Mac, but I can open VS Code. I can open it on my browser, which is, can open it on my browser. Where is copy path? I can always copy the path. There's always a copy path. Once you open the drop down of the navigation on the top of your system, you would see, if you're on a Windows system, you definitely see copy paths. You can just copy the path and paste it on your browser. Then you would have what you have written here. But if you don't have live server installed on your system, just go to your extension also and type live server. And this is it. I have live server installed on my system. So most times when you install live server on your into your VS Code for the very first time, you have to reload your system. There are so many kinds of live server, but it's best to just download the one which has by Rhetoric Day, which is the best one. I have not had issues using it over time, so I also recommend it. Yeah, so back to our HTML code. Hope nobody has any issues with live server. Yeah, Zachariah Adio. Sorry, I made mistake in your name. You can definitely just copy the part and paste it on Chrome, and you have the same URL. So we talked about meta in the last class, which holds some of the information of your website, which is what is the first meta tag there? Can anyone tell me the first meta tag on our VS Code in our meta, which is the first one we have to do? Okay, I see people went back home to do a very good research. So what did I say the meta is for? The chassis. Can anyone tell me what I said the chassis is for? No, the chassis is not for responsiveness. The chassis is not for responsiveness. Model of the website. No. No, it's not the version of the browser. Anyone else want to try? No. Characters. Yeah, Nidu got it. Nidu have an hint about it. There are so many special characters in the what's the name? There are special characters while you're writing code. Probably you want to use an apostrophe, an hash. Those are character encoding so that your browser can interpret it. Your compiling machine, which works behind the scene, which you don't know, can be able to read your document and be like, okay, yes, this is some of the things I'm going to encode. So he reads it into compiler reads code in ones and zeros in binary. So human being don't understand binary. This is what human being understand. So once you have your UTF-8 in your code, it's what gives your browser, okay, these are some of the things on this browser. It's when you go deep into computer science, that's when you understand what the chassis 8 is for. So we are not in a computer science class. I won't go deep into that. I won't go deep into that. So the next one we have is, sorry. Also note that HTML is very case sensitive. Though most times it might work, but as I said, sometimes something can work on your local machine, and by the time you want to deploy it to the browser, it gives you issues. So next time you don't have to. You just have to be careful when you write your case. So we have to focus on it that everything is. You can actually see that I have the options while written on my screen. Reason being that I have written it over and over and over again. So I don't need to you don't need to cram all this. By the time you are writing your code and you're writing it over and over again, your system knows what you want to input next, and it has given you what you want. So I don't need to write this myself. I just need to complete it, which the scale is what? What is the initial scale we are going to give it to? 1.0. So you close the tab and this has to be different. This also has to. So this is what we have. And most times, once you can also get it like this. I don't need to write this over and over again. You can just do this. This is a shortcut. And once you have your shortcut, it gives you everything you want. So it gives you everything you want just on one click, which is the importance of, you don't need to cram this this layout. Just go to Visual Studio Code and press Shift and the exclamation key. Then everything, it just gives you a boilerplate. So in this boilerplate which we have here, you can see my own boilerplate is not complete. have not added the body yet or the title. So let me add the title. So my title is there. Let me just say HTML class. And here we have it. So the next thing I need to do is to have my body case sensitive. So, and that is all. So there are some of the things that we need to put in our header tag, which includes another. Who can tell me another thing we have to put in our header tag? I mentioned it in the last class. Okay, we are not talking about links now. We are not talking about style sheets. There are some of the things that we need to put in our HTML tag. There's no. What we actually need to do here is basically just what we have to. There are some things we have to put here, which includes we can actually say this information includes the description of the website. If you check your website, you will see that at the top, beside your title, there's always a logo there. There's always a logo there. That logo is also included in your header tag. That logo there is always included in your header tag. So we have to do something like that so we can see it. We just use a dummy link from. We just get a random image from the website, which is the fav icon. So yeah, let's add the fav icon. It's also in the metal tag. The fav icon comes in the metal tag also. Sorry, I have my we have it as a rel. Icon, then we have the href. This href, the href is because we should have it locally downloaded on our system. But if we don't have it locally downloaded on our system, let's go to Chrome and just pick a fav icon. Let's just look for a small fav icon. Just something small actually. So there are so many resources, you don't need to begin to think. Most of your fav icons actually comes from anything you can, from your logo. Yeah, it's a smaller size of your logo actually. So let's do this. Let's just use an emoji. Let's just use an emoji for a fav icon. Okay. Alien, yeah. So we have to download it. No, it's not downloading. Let's go back here. Once it's finished loading, I'll get it. So you just have to put it. The next thing you need is to add the type. Okay, I have it right here. The next thing you have to do is to add a type, which is an image. If you don't add it as an image, it will work on your local machine, but by the time you get to the server, it's going to break your code, which is some of those minor things that you don't want to break your code eventually. If you have any question, just drop it in the chat box and we can always follow. What size should the fav icon be most times? Well, the fav icons should just be small, probably 50 by 60. Just something small, because it's going to be extremely small, just beside your title bar. That is where it should be. So most times you just have to resize it. When you are getting the image, it's going to be extremely something small, not something too big. We can also add something in our header here, which includes the title, which includes the title for dropping messages. Please, why are your code so beautiful, colorful? Okay, I have an extension. I have actually modified my Visual Studio Code. That is why when I'm typing something, it gives me different colors. That's it. So what is the essence of the icon? The icon is an image. Actually, you know what? I went to an extension. I went to a website to go and get an icon. I'm using an alien icon actually. So that is why I have to put that image like X icon there. So that it's telling it that okay, this is an icon. So it has downloaded, I'll get it later on. Okay, someone is asked the third meta tag. Okay, now let me open up my live server so we can see the implementation in the browser. Let me open up my live server, go live. So you just see go live at the down part of your screen. So this is it. Come in. I don't want to use Safari. I want to make use of Chrome, which is what most of us make use of most times. That's why. So my default browser here is Safari, but you can see. Can you see my screen? Can you see my web browser? Just confirm you can see my web browser in the chat box. Mo asked that question. Okay, you can see this HTML class beside it here. That is the title. Your fav icon is this round stuff beside it. That is what your fav icon is actually. So if we change our fav icon now, if I get an icon and I put it here, instead of this being a normal icon, instead of this being this default web page stuff, it would be the icon I put there. So that's just if someone is asking, why are you using a metal red instead of a link tag? At this point, I'm not linking anything. I'm not linking this to an external sheet. This is a metal tag, which is used to change the icon, the default icon. Moses Kayode, that's your question. This is to change the default icon of your browser. If you create an HTML page and you don't have a fav icon, what is going to come here is actually a dummy browser, a dummy globe icon like this, something like that. That's what it's going to be here. So if by the time you change it, it's going to give you whatsoever you change. You can see this alien icon here now. This fav icon is giving me an alien symbol, an alien icon. That is what it's for actually. Moses, did you get that? Okay, all right, very good. So let's continue. We can also add a title. I'm saying a title. You can also add something like an author. Most times your website needs a description, which is what your browser is going to see as a description. Now let's do this. Let's type, what can we use as our description? What can we use as our description here? Let's do meta property description. Most times I have typed it over and over again, content. So you don't need to worry about what next when you are writing code. Once you have your extension installed, you can just put, okay, this is an HTML class organized by KodeCamp. So this meta is going to, this description also help your search engine optimization, because once they are searching for KodeCamp and it reads through this line and says, okay, this is KodeCamp, and you just search KodeCamp. Once it reads this, your search engine reads this KodeCamp, and once he has read it, it just pop up at the side, at the top of your page. If you go to Google and you search for something, the first word, let's try this out. The reason why I didn't write any content inside the href tag is because I downloaded something. I downloaded something just now, and I have to extract it. I don't want to bore us with the extraction process. I downloaded it as a zip file, and I have to extract it. That is why. So let's do MDN documentation. So what you have here, this page, this first line, what I copied like this is a description on the index page of the website. When I typed MDN documentation, it just brought it up and said, okay, the website provided information about open web technology, including HTML, CSS, and API for web. That's all. That is what this description does. This, I gave it a description and I've given it the content into it. So whenever it pops up on Google search, this is what you are going to read, aside the title which you are given, which is HTML class. Is anyone confused with that? So we can proceed to the next. All right. So now let's go into our body and start writing our HTML tag. We talked about I won't repeat myself. If you have any question with H1 to H6 elements, can anyone just, if you have a question with H1 and H6 elements, can you just drop it in the chat box, or you raise up your hand so I can answer it before I proceed, or I should just go over it again? Okay, there's no one. So we have our H1. We have our H1. Hello. Another thing, I can just duplicate all this line and just change them subsequently. What I used to duplicate them is Shift and Alt. Just change it to 2. I come down to the next one, I change it to 3. I come down to the next one, I change it to 4. I come down to the next one, I change it to 5. And 6. So we have our H1 to H6 elements. Please, in the body tag, can you use the paragraph tag? Yes, definitely. That is, you're using it to write elements. So those are HTML tags. So you can use them. Every HTML tag goes into the body. KodeCamp. So let's check out what we have on our browser, which is this. This is our H1 to H6 tag. So the next thing we have to look at is, which is the basic thing over and over again, if you are writing any HTML tag, if you are building any HTML structure, you would definitely be using your H1 and your P tag over and over again. What I use in duplicating is Shift and Alt. Shift Alt down. Shift Alt down on your keyboard. Just type that, Shift Alt down on your keyboard. You will get that. So some of the things we'll be doing now includes, okay, that's the basic structure of an HTML page, the H1 to H6 tag. Does anyone have any question with that? No? I don't want to assume you don't have any question. It might look easy, but not everyone understands it. Okay, we can go forward from there. Then we have the span tag. I made mention of something of the span tag. Okay, now, what is the difference between the H1 elements, the heading tags, and the span elements? Can someone tell me? I made mention of a difference in the last class. Can someone raise up your hand to tell me, or you drop it in the chat box if you are shy to speak? I don't know why you are shy to speak, but Paul, you have always been raised. Okay, there's another person. I don't want Paul to always speak. Others are in the class. Okay, Chinelo, what is the reason? Chinelo, what's the difference between, what's one major difference I mentioned? Okay,
the major difference is H tag take up the width, while span does not take up the width.
Okay, yeah, that is what I actually wanted to know. Okay, the H1 element, the heading tag, actually take up the full width, while the span element take up a small, just the size of the contents in it. Okay, Paul, you said you have a question. What's the question, Paul?
Yes, sorry. Actually, I want to ask a question concerning that meta that icon, fav
Okay.
fav icon. Yes, you downloaded it as a zip file. Is it
Yeah.
like I know that you go back there, of course, but I'm just curious that you downloaded it as a zip file instead of just downloading the usage. Like you can just copy the link direct, right?
Yeah, I know there are so many ways to do it. The reason why most times, if you use an image directly from a website, there are two things that is going to happen. If that website, if that image is deleted from the website, you would never see it again on your browser, in your code. Most times, you would never see it in your code. And that's why it's best for you that whenever you are using an image, you download it you have a folder called your resources folder on your system. So you know that the image is downloaded into your machine. So when you upload, it is locally there. And also another reason why it's not advisable to always use link from outside is because what if your network is slow and it does not arrive on time? What are you going to do? Your users are not going to see the image. It's just going to give you a dummy image there. It's just going to give you a space that there's supposed to be an image here. So that's why it's not a standard practice. People do it, but along the line, it is not a standard practice for you to do it. So even with the href that is there, you are still going to attach it to something. We are going to, if I have something like this here, I don't want to extract now because it's going to take a time. It's going to take a while rather. Even if it's on my system, I have to do this href slash to the particular point that I have that image. Or let me check if I can do something. I can actually go into my local machine. Okay. Dot slash slash. Okay. Downloads slash. Okay. Let me see. Let me use this image. You can see that I have this image downloaded on my system and I want to have that image as my, this image is quite big. Let me see if it's going to show. The image is quite big, so it's not good. It's a particular size it has to be. I would definitely, before the end of the class, I would extract that image and show it. Okay, sir, please can you throw more light on the span and h1 tag? Okay. I said that in the last class, I made mention that the h1 to h6 tags are block elements. What block elements simply means is that they occupy the full width of their elements. They occupy the full width which they cover. If you look at what we have here now, this is the first one is h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6. Though they are different sizes, and what they are doing is they can't stay beside each other. The h1 occupies the full width of the full length from the right to the left hand side. Same for the h6. Let me put something right in front of the h1 tag. Let me put something right in front of the h1 tag. Please confirm you can still see my screen. Let me put on that h1 tag here. Let's go back to our screen. Let's go back to our browser. So you can see when I added a new h1 tag, and I put it beside the hello, you can see that it broke to the next line. That is what it means. An h1 tag is a block element. They are going to stay, they can't stay side by side. It has to break. While for the span element, which is an inline tag, the span element, which is an inline tag, is this. This is the span element. If I put Paul, let me write Paul's name here. And I have another span tag beside it here. Span tag. let me use Damilola. I can see Damilola in front of me. And I save it. These elements are just going to occupy the full width. You can see that Paul and Damilola are on the same line. They just occupy the actual width of their elements. They don't need to break into another line. They are just, okay, it's just occupying 4 spaces. Why Damilola is longer than it. That's the major difference between a span and a block and an H1 tag. There are block elements. I'm going to give you a list of block elements and inline elements as we go on in this class. So Damilola, you have a question. Can you unmute and speak? Damilola, can you unmute and speak? Damilola, oh, you have dropped your hand. All right, no problem then. So let's continue. If I put the span in the second line of the, will it still stand beside? No, it's going to break. Let's try it. This is practical. Let's see. Let's see. Who can tell me before I show the results, who can say what is going to be? Is it going to break or is it still going to be on the same line? Won't break, stay on the same line? Are you sure about that? Same line is to break. Same line to break. Okay. On the same line, break on the same line. Okay, it won't break. Oh, okay. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. It didn't break because it's an inline element. It won't break. That is how it is. The only reason why it's going to break is because if I do something like this, in HTML, there's something called, if you don't want to use, there's something called BR tag. These are also some tags that are self-closing in HTML, which you don't use often time. You just use them once in a while. If I use a break tag here now, it is definitely going to break. That what I mean is I am giving it a space. The same way you use your shift and enter on your keyboard while typing on Microsoft Word to break to the next line. That is what the break tag does. If you have a span, you write span on different line. By the time they are going to render on the browser, everything is just going to come up on a very straight line. That is why it's an inline tag. Yeah, so, and also I want you to know that HTML, let's try something. Let's do something here. What does the break tag stand for? It is called break. Break. The same, just instead of you writing break as in like this, instead of you writing break, just write BR, which is the short form in Visual Studio Code. There are also inline tags such as this. So I wanted to do something. Is HTML case sensitive or not? Is HTML case sensitive? It is. Are you sure? Steven, are you sure? Yes, it is. So let's practicalize it. Who knows? Are you sure you? Okay, let's see. Case. So before you unmuted, I don't like that. Paul, mute your mic. I didn't ask you to unmute and speak. Mute your mic. I would frown at that, please. No, it's not your Paul. It is there's another Paul on the call. So concerning this, some people said it is case sensitive, some said it's not case sensitive. So let's check it out. HTML is not case sensitive, but it is just standard practice that you write everything in small letter. Are we on the same page? It's just standard practice that you write everything in small letter. So does it not matter when you where you put your span tag in VS Code? It won't break the line, except no. The thing is, if you write a span tag side by side, if you write a span tag, okay, now let's do this. I mentioned it that in the header, in the head, not in your body tag. I mentioned that in the head, HTML is case sensitive. Your metal here is case sensitive, but in the body element, it is not case sensitive. Someone who Ibrahim Ademola, hope you are not confused. Ibrahim Ademola, can you unmute and speak?
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah,
Hope
I'm
you are
just
not.
joining today. I might be confused, but I saw it in my note. That was why I answered. So I might be
Okay.
confused actually.
All right.
This is my first time joining the class.
The thing there is that in your metal tag, you don't write case sensitive. You don't write them in capital letter. Though I mentioned that it will work on your VS Code, but by the time you get to production, by the time you are hosting it on a server, it's not going to work. It's going to be telling you that it's an error. That is why it's advisable for you to write everything in small letter. Yeah, we are live on YouTube actually. So you just have to. Oh, I have to increase my screen. Sorry, you should have mentioned that earlier. So is my screen clearer now? So you don't have to write everything in case, you don't have to write in capital letter, because by the time you're writing in capital letter, along the line, you will get mixed it up and you have to start coming back to change everything. That's why it's just a standard practice over time that you have to write in small letter. So let's move on. We have spent so much time here, so we have we have something called UL. The UL is to list elements. There are two kinds of UL. In the UL, there is a UL and there is a OL. The UL is unordered list. Why the OL? The UL is an unordered list, while the OL is ordered list. The reason being there is that unordered list is what you will see most times in your code base. Because let me do this. Damilola. If I do this now, you will just see Damilola is listed like this. It's telling you that there's no format for it. But if you are using an ordered list, you definitely have everything in steps. So now, for example, now you want to give someone description on the steps they have to take before they can boil rice. So you just have to do, the first step is put water on fire. So the next step is wash your rice. The next step is drain the water in the rice. The third step is put the rice into the boiling water. And the last step is add salt. I don't. That's how I cook my rice. You might have other means, but this is how I cook my rice. So with this, you're telling the user that from line 1, you have to follow these particular steps. If you don't follow, if you even see it on your browser, it's going to tell you 1, 2, that if you keep adding more, that's how it's going to be like. That is how it's going to be like actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But for your unordered list, it's going to just tell you. You can it's just going to tell you that it's just going to give you this dotted this dot in front of it, and along the line, you are not telling your users that okay, I am I am giving you steps if you are using the ordered list. I'm giving you steps if you are using the ordered list, but if you are using the unordered list, you're not telling your users you are giving them steps. So, what if it's normal numbers that you want? Don't worry about that, Favor. In HTML, you can actually just change it with your CSS, which you will do later on, but not in this class. We are going to do that in the next one when we are talking about CSS. So when you are using CSS to manipulate elements. Yeah, so let's check out another element which is called the link tag. You know, in your website, there are some times that, okay, you're on a web page, and there are sometimes you want to fix elements that, okay, when you are here, you want it to link to another page. So let's do something like this. Let's get this, let's allow this our website to link to, what's the name? To link to Twitter, for example, which is X now, if I'm not right. If I'm not wrong, rather. You can still call it Twitter regardless. So with your A tag, you have to have something called your href element. If you notice that I have an href up ahead before, which is something you use to which is used to reference an element. An href simply means you are referencing something. Damilola, you have a question. Can you unmute and speak?
Yeah, my question is, how do you duplicate? I just want to know how you duplicated this Damilola.
Use place your hand on Shift Alt then down. Shift Alt down. Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. So let me just let me write Twitter here. If I go to my browser now, it's not going to link anywhere. But you can see that it is telling you that this is linking somewhere. It's telling you that this is supposed to link somewhere, which is Twitter. So let's get the URL for Twitter. Let's get the URL for Twitter. Oh. So, and put it inside our code. We put it inside our href element, and yeah, we are good to go. Can we see, if we click on this now, our website is going to navigate to Twitter straight away. So that is, if you are trying to navigate, if you want to link another website into your website, that is what you are going to do. You have to link it. You have to have an A tag inside your element and push it all through and just add the link there. So once your user clicks on it, it takes them to Twitter. And you can add as many links as you like. You can add to Instagram, you can add to W3 schools. Let's add to W3 schools. And if you have any question, you can always backtrack me and I'll respond to you. Another thing about W3 schools, let's get the link for W3 schools here also. So let's get the link for W3 schools. Yeah, Control C and V also work. That means you're copying and pasting. For what I did, I'm not copying and pasting. I'm just duplicating. Control C and V works, but that is for copy and pasting, not you duplicating. Control C and V is duplicate and is also the same thing, but I am duplicating, not copying and pasting. With that, I have to move to the next line, but with Alt V, Shift Alt and down, I don't need to add that. I don't need to begin. If I'm using Control C and V, I have to copy it first. I have to copy it first like this. Then go to the next line and place it. But with Alt and Shift Alt down, I'm not copying and pasting. I'm just duplicating. That's the difference. So let's go back here. You can see that I have W3 schools here now, which if I press it, so that is what your link tag does. Does anyone have question with the link tag? Because there'll be an assignment after this class, so just have everything at the back of your mind. So next is we are going to be making use of elements. We are going to be making use of image tag. Let's have an image tag. An image tag is also a self-closing tag. Yeah, Kindness, you have a question? Unmute and speak. Kindness, can you unmute and speak?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I noticed that the links are on the same line, even though on your VS Code they are on separate lines. I don't know, is it an inline
If you,
tag? The
yes,
href
I made
attribute
mention.
tag, is it
Yeah,
an inline tag?
yes, I made mention of that. That href is an inline. Your a tag is also an inline tag. It just takes up the width of your element.
Oh,
It's not a block element. It's an inline element.
all right, thank you.
Someone else has a question. Yeah. Who is the next person? Kenneth, please unmute and speak. Kenneth, if you can hear me, just unmute and speak. Kenneth,
Okay.
are you there? Okay.
Okay. I want to ask the href tag. Can you also link your email?
Yeah, your network is breaking. I can't hear you. Kenneth, if you're saying something, I can't hear you. Your network is bad. I can't hear you, Kenneth. Yeah, so let's move on to our image. For your image, you have three things, which include your SRC, which is your SRC stands for source, while your alt stands for alternative text. Let me show you this. If I write image here now, if I don't have an image inside here and I go to my browser, what I'm going to see on my browser is this alt text I wrote, which is image. You can see that I have it here. Your image tag is also an inline tag. So you can see that I just have image here without an image. If you have an image on your website and you don't attach an image to it, or probably you used an online image and the link is broken, like it was deleted from the website where you copied it from and the likes, what are you going to do to make a user know that is an image there? Is for you to have an alternative, it's also called alternate text. That is what the short form is, alt text, alt, while your SRC is source. So let's get an image from one of all these free images sites. So So we just copy one free image and just paste it in our code. So which image am I copying? Just anyone. Let's copy this bed image. Let's get it into our code and put it here. There are two things that might happen to this image. It will probably lag to load because it's coming from an external source. It might not load up. I don't know why it's not loading. That's why you should have an alternative text. Let me use an image I have on my system to correct that, so you can see that the image, once you have this image in front of it, then it's going to go through. These are the various ways you call an image from your folder. So what I did here was I'm moving this dot is telling your code that, okay, I am moving out of this particular place, take me into the next step. Dot is telling me take me out of this step and take me into another step. That is what that means. So no, not document. I'll download the image I have here. Okay, I really don't know the content of all these images, so but let me just try this. Let me use this finance dashboard. Let me use this image that is here so we can see the results on the browser. Why are both of them not showing? Yeah, you can actually use the tag link to link to an image. Yeah, you can do that. Why are the images not showing? Well, then I know what I have to do. I have to move the image into my project structure, into my project. So let's do this. Let's download another image. I just need to download an image. Yeah, I don't have it inside my project. I actually want to do everything from scratch for everyone so that I don't need to be. So it's downloading. Yeah, that's downloaded already. So let me move it into my project folder. So I have it here now. So let's check it out. Yeah, so we have our image right here. Most times, that's why I told you it's not advisable for you to be using images from an external source. We used an image from an external source now, but it's not showing the desired result. But when we downloaded the image into our local machine, it gave us the desired result of what we want. It's displaying the image that we want. So there are some things I can do to this image. I can change the height and the width, which is by just doing this. I'll do the width and the height. So by doing this, I have reduced the size. I tried reducing the size even without using CSS. That is inline. That's some of the attributes that what's the name? That the image tag carries. It carries a width and an height, which you can always use at any point in time. So, does anyone have any question with the image before we move forward to the next one? Is there any question? No question. Okay. Okay, John Paul Abraham, can you unmute and speak? Yeah, your background is noisy. Can you leave where you are and come back? Francisca, can you unmute and speak? John, your background is noisy. John, your background is noisy.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Francisca.
Okay, what you tried to do before, the dot dot slash dot dot slash another dot dot slash, then taking the image from the images you have already on your system, does that particular one work? Like,
Yeah, it works actually.
that's my question.
Yeah, it works actually. It's just that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, John. John, John Abraham Paul. Your background is noisy, and if you want to speak, you have to have a clear background so that everyone can hear you, please. Yeah, what I said was it actually worked, but I am nesting my element. I am trying to go deep root into my folder, and it's not seeing it. That's why I had to bring the element into my project folder. Francisca, I don't know if you get me.
Yes, sir.
When I tried going into my download folder, it was not going through. So I had to bring the image into my project folder itself so that I can see it. That's how it's being done. Most times it will work. Sometimes, I think 2-3 years back, if you nest an element straight down like that, it's going to go. But now there's already an upgrade. It doesn't work except you have it inside your project folder. Steven, can you unmute and speak?
My question is, can you apply this in when you want to add image in your Favicon? Like what you just explained, this image part.
No, you don't use an image in your favicon. You don't use an image in your favicon. You use a metal, then you link it, then you put your Favi icon in front of it. But that is why I tried downloading the 5 icon earlier, but I'm going to extract the file. I've not forgotten that. I have to extract it and put it inside my project folder here so that I can access it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So Taufik, you are the only one that is not hearing my voice. I think it's from your end. I think it's from here. Just leave the meeting and join back again. That's just it. Just leave the meeting and come back again. So
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Is it possible to rewatch this class, then ask questions after in the next class?
Definitely, you can always ask questions on Discord. You can always ask once you have any issue, just drop it on Discord. I'm online on Discord. So
now I'm not really flowing now because I missed the first class. So I want to watch everything, then ask my question in the third class.
No problem. Go ahead. It's fine. Yeah, Samson, unmute and speak.
All right. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir. Please, I just need a little bit of clarification. Okay, are you trying to say, sir, that we cannot use a downloaded image directly for the 5 icon for our titles logo?
No, you can. What I'm saying is, if you check now, you can see that
Yes,
my 5 icon, I went into my download folder.
Yes, sir.
And it's not seeing it. The thing I have to do is I have to bring that image into my project folder as I did for this one, as I did for the image I just did a few minutes ago.
Okay.
I have to bring that image into my project folder so that I can read it directly.
Okay.
That is it. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's why I said that it is advisable for you to not use image directly from an external source. That you should always have it inside your project folder. Do you get that now?
All right. Yes, very well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Desmond, can you unmute and speak?
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, Please, I wanted to know how did you add that image to your project folder? I don't think I really got it. How you
How
added?
did I?
How did you add the image to your project folder?
Okay, what I just did was I just dragged it from where I had it before and I put it here. It's just the same way you can copy a file from the way you are copying files from on your system. You copy from folder A to folder B. It's just the same thing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so let's continue. We have talked about the H1, the H2, the paragraph tag. Anyone having any question? There's no question. So, do you know that we can also do some things in HTML, which is we can also Idem. Can you unmute and speak that's going to be the last question before I proceed into the next.
Okay, it's actually Edem. Good morning.
Okay, Edem. Okay.
Yeah, yes. Good morning. I've been following the class so far. I'm really excited to join this class today. I missed the first one. But my basic knowledge using any of the virtual codes to type your body of code or I want to find out, is it always advisable to use inline inline styling as to using CSS?
Well, I mentioned in the last class that in the last class that there are various ways of styling, but it is not advisable for you to write your CSS in the same place where you have your HTML, because one is for readability sake. You are not going to be the only one to write your code. You are not going to be, if you are working on a large team, and everybody is writing their CSS inside the same place, same as their HTML, it would become the project is going to be unreadable, because if you get to a point you want to change something on line 8 and you're already in line 2000, or line 5000, how do you now start scrolling back up to the top to get what you have done? So it's not advisable. When we get to the CSS class, we would analyze that better. So hope you got me.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
All right.
Yes,
so
thank you.
Thank you very much. So we can still, there are still some styling you can do with your in your HTML, which is, should we style? No, but we can. You will, because the tags I'm going to give you will definitely want you to style. So the next thing you have to do is there's something called bold. There's something called bold in HTML. What it does is it's just the same way. It's just the same way you have your bold, your Control B in your Microsoft Word. That is what this thing is for. I can't use it on an H1 tag because it is bold already. Let me use it on the paragraph tag so that you can see the difference. Okay, you just wrap it around like this and it becomes bold. These are some of the kind of style you can give to your code in HTML, and it's to be bold. There is also emphatic, emphasize. This is it. It's not, why is it not getting bold? So let me try the EM. Come on, let me check this EM. So you can see the emphasize is working. The emphasize is working. And I'm coming, just a second. I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, B tag. Yeah, I'm writing it as bold. So it's the old version. Let's try that. Someone gave me B tag in the code in the chat box. Yeah, it's normal for you to forget some of your lines of code. No one is an island of knowledge. So don't feel intimidated when you forget your lines of code. Yeah, so I use the B tag. Yeah, strong can also do it, but strong, I think strong is HTML4 or before the latest version of HTML5. Strong can also do it. So let's use strong. Let's use strong. Hmm. Strong is also going to make your elements bold. So let's check that. Idem, it's still the same thing. Your strong still makes it bold. And you can always do it like that and you have what you want. So let's talk about tables in HTML. Let's talk about tables, which is something that you will also be making use of along the time. Yeah, most times that's what is called backward compatibility. Codes are, all these syntax are always backward compatible. But the thing is, along the line, you have to keep up with the trend. You can't be in 2024 now and be writing a syntax that has been used in 1997. What if other people on your team don't understand what you're writing? That is why you just have to keep up with the trend. You have to be up to speed with whatsoever you're doing. And Raheem, you have a question. Your hand is raised. Can you just unmute and speak?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thanks for the lectures. I've been following you too, but I just have a small clarification on this, the melter on the heading.
Okay.
That is not actually showing on my Explorer here. So I don't know, maybe I'm getting something wrong.
Your metal is not showing. Or what did you write in your metal? Which of the metal? Which of the metal, first of all?
The icon, the descriptions, the name description.
That one is not going to show on your browser. When I explained earlier, I said that if you do a Google search, you would see that this content, this is the description that Google is going to give to your website once it pops up at the top level. That's when I showed you this MDN documentation. Yeah, I showed you when I Google searched MDN web docs. This, what is written here, is actually their description. So it's not going to show on your Internet Explorer. It's not going to show at the top bar here. It's not going to show. The only place it's going to show is when it's Google searched and Google is giving a description to your website. That is what it's for. Do you understand now?
Yeah, clear. Thanks. But then the other one, the icon side also.
The icon. Yeah. That's when I said that you have to download an icon locally to your VS Code. You have to put the icon has to be inside your project folder. If your icon is not inside your project folder, it's going to give you issues. That's when I was trying to link it out. I was trying to link it to a different place, and it was not showing.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah. Olamide Ajayi, can you unmute and speak?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are kind of far from your microphone. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now.
Okay. What you meant is that the tags, it might change over time. But if it does happen like that, what do you think we can do, at least to get familiar with the tags, even if they get to
Well, I meant if it's for the tag, the tags does not change like they change drastically like that. Since I think 2002 now, we have been making use of HTML5 and the tags are not changing. If it's going to eventually change, probably that okay now instead of you writing table in full, they might just change it to tab or something. Before now, if you want to make use of an image tag, you have to write the image in full and you have to close it at the back. You have to close it. So it's just some minor change that are going to occur, not a serious change like that. And it's always backward compatible. That is why I can write bold. That's why someone can write strong and the likes, and it's still going to work even till this point. So do you understand that, Olamide? You don't necessarily need to cram the code, but as you go back, as you begin to write code, you would, even when they want to make a new release, everybody would be aware that okay, a change is coming. So you have to go and read it. And even before the changes in code get effected, over time, it would take like 1, 2, 3 years before everybody start using it. That's just it. So it's not that okay, once there's a change in this code at this point, everybody has to get to learn it. No. So we are moving into tables in HTML. So a table is just the normal way that you fill in your tables in when you are writing your timetable, something like that. When you are building your timetable in school, instead of you writing your timetable, just use a table tag, and it's going to give you a structure of what you want. So in your table tag, there are two important elements that you want, which is the table head and the table body. You can do it like this, which is this table head, which is table head, or you have something like this, table body, which is T body. And that's what you want. The difference between this table body is that the difference between the table head and the table body is that there is a distinction. It makes your user knows that okay, this is the head of this element and this is the body over time. So the head is always going to be bold, while the body is going to be normal color. So let me show you. You have to have a table row in front of it. So there's going to be a distinction. So let's add this. Let's put what should we put here? Name. Let's duplicate this. Name, track. What else? Program. Level. Yeah, and yeah, let's just have that 4. And the next thing we have here is you have your body tag. You still have to wrap it in the row, in the T row. You can call it table row, but the short form is T row. And we have this, you have your body inside it. So whose name should I write there? So I write James. The next one is track, beginner track. The next one is program front end, and the level is level 1. So the next one we have here is we have to duplicate this. So yeah, let's check it out. So can you see that we have a table, but it is not well styled? Do you know that? Can you see my table? Can you see my table? Nobody is talking. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, but you can see that my table is just on a straight line. So that's why most times you have to style it. So there's a default way of styling in HTML, which is this. Why is this? Try this. Coming. Let me confirm this. Maybe Control F, T body. Maybe this is not supposed to be. Okay, yeah, this is what I was looking for. You can't see my table. Oh, you don't think you like my table yet? It looks like a table yet. Oh, this is the table down here. Let me just remove this image. This image is elongating my screen. So this is how a table looks like. So most times you now have to style it using CSS. You have to make it a border width, a border around, a table size, and which is pretty much what you can do with HTML. So let's do that. Yeah. So let's do that, which is, let's give it a border around. Let's give it a border around, and we have it like this. T, yeah. So I just had an inline style in here. So I just give it a border around it, which is a simple one. We can also give each of them. You can also give each one of them a border around it. Let's just copy and paste this style along everything. This is one of the reasons why inline styling is not good. So now I have to copy everything all across board. So let's see it. That is why why is it not working? Sorry. Why is the table not working? It should actually work. But that's a styling issue actually. I don't know why it's not working, but we are not focusing on styling in today's class. That's why we just leave that. So does anyone have any question before we proceed? If you have any question, can you just raise up your hand and we talk about columns? Yeah, you can use columns also. You can use columns on your HTML table, which is part of some of the things that you can do with your table, which the table is actually so wide. Table is one of the elements you will use over and over and over again in your HTML structure. So let me complete this table and we can move ahead from there. So I would do something. I would write, well, it's all encompassing in HTML. So everything has to be all encompassing. So I don't, yeah. So anyone having any question? No question. So let me style this table right in HTML so we can have a better feel of the table. Table is actually wide and we can't cover it all in one class. So let's just have a few of what we have in table. Sorry, if you have any question, you can always unmute and speak, or not unmute, raise up your hand first of all. Yeah. So let me remove this so we can see what we have. So I gave it a width of 100%. So I expanded the width of everything. So I'm going to give it a padding. Don't bore yourself with what I'm writing. Just follow the flow of what I'm doing. You will get to understand it better when we get to CSS. So let me give it a sorry, hope no one is confused with what I'm doing. Let's see. Olamide, so raise up your hand and speak, Olamide. I'll be on mute and speak, rather, Olamide. Olamide, you can unmute and speak. I'm listening to you.
I'm actually confused because
What's confusing
right now,
you?
I'm thinking you are using CSS to style it. Are you using
That was
CSS
what
to
I
style it?
said. Yeah, what did you say? What did you say?
I said, are you using CSS to style this part you are styling now?
There is. That was what I said. You when someone was complaining that
Are
they
you still
can't
using
see my
HTML?
table. Yeah, I'm using HTML now. It's still HTML I'm using, but it's just that's why I said don't confuse yourself with what I'm writing. Just follow the flow. You would along the line as you go, you will definitely understand what is there. But don't bore yourself with the explanation or anything. Just follow the flow. Because I can't start explaining each of this. All these are in CSS. But for you to be able to understand, to see the table properly well, that is why I had to make it like this. Emmanuel, you are not lost.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, Emmanuel, you are not lost. I will always find you. Can you unmute and speak, Emmanuel? I am here to find you. You are not lost. So he said you are using. No, I'm not using HTML to style. Oh. I am using CSS to style. I'm not using HTML to style. I'm using CSS to style, but I don't want you to bore you with the whatsoever I'm writing. That's why I just said follow the flow. That's why I said follow the flow. So, is there any question?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is internal styling. This is internal styling, not inline styling. So don't let us dive into CSS. Let's leave that. So yeah, there's no question. Is anyone having any question? Emmanuel, okay, what is your question on part of the table? I think we should answer that now. Emmanuel, can you unmute and speak? Emmanuel. Okay, Emmanuel is not ready to speak. So let's continue. Oh, Adelaja, can you unmute and speak?
Yes, sir. About the TD, is the TD the body of the table?
The TD means
The
table data,
abbreviation.
table data, table data.
Okay.
It means table data. Table data. The information that are written inside your table body is called CD, which is table data. Do you get it now?
Yes, copy. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, anyone still confused, or we could continue? Someone is still raising his hand, so. Okay, Adelaja. Adelaja, just put your hand. Why is the element aligned to the right? I just moved it to the right. So I think there are so many questions here. Okay, you're lost. All right. Someone has found you already. So please confirm your state. Sorry, can you still see my screen? Please confirm you can see my screen. I think I'm lost. I lost you guys somewhere. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. I thought my network went off. All right. Sunny, if you can't see my screen, then I think it's from your end. So let's talk about the div elements, which I mentioned earlier, which are semantic and non-semantic tag. So I'll be giving a rundown of semantic and non-semantic tag now. I'll just giving a rundown of semantic and non-semantic tag. What if the table has more than one row? You can see that the row is what is the other line now. The row is the other line, which is, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. That is what the row is actually. Olamide, you asked that question. So let me write something here. Let me put a paragraph in front of it. Semantic tag. Semantic tag, which is article, sorry, writing capital letter. We have section. We have details. These are some of all these semantic tag. Along you go, when you are writing your code, you won't use it over time. I am 90 to 70%, 90 to 100% sure that you won't use it. The few ones you actually be using while you are starting out is header, footer, main, which one is there again? Nav, which also stands for navigation. Sorry, I'm trying to remember them over and over. I've written article, I have written, okay, figure, yeah, figure. You have quote, you have site. You got, most of them have gone into extension, so you don't necessarily need to have them. Content, well, content can also stand as section actually. So it's just like a div. The body tag is not part of a semantic tag. The body tag is where all your elements goes into. The body tag is where all your elements goes into. It's not this thing. It's not a semantic tag. Olamide Ajayi, are you confused?
No, I'm not confused. I just want to get things right.
Oh, okay, all right, that's fine. A body tag is the structure of your HTML. You have your HTML, you have your header, and the next thing you have right after it is your body. Yeah, Michael Oladele, your site tag is a semantic HTML tag. A site is a semantic HTML tag, though it's not widely used, but it's a semantic HTML tag. So, but if we have our non-semantic tag, a non-semantic tag include it includes div, and span. So that is majorly one of the major two semantic, non-semantic HTML tag that we have. Because over the time, what you just do is you just use them to differentiate sections from sections. As you begin to write your code, you would not necessarily need to be using the article section, detail, main. You would use a div and you give it a class name. You give it a class name over time. So I hope you now understand the difference between semantic and non-semantic HTML tag. Now, Samuel, Samson rather, Samson,
Yes,
asked
yes, please. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused here.
yeah.
Please, I would really appreciate it if you can help with a practical example of how to use a div non-semantic tag. And also looking at main, what occurs to me looking at that word main, I think it should be the main body of your code, but I don't really know if that is true. Please, I would really appreciate it, sir, if you can have a practical example
Okay,
to.
okay. All right, that's fine. So I just listed it. We are still going to go into the. This is it. Article. Let's start with article. You have an article and you just write. You have an article. You have article. You have an H2 tag inside it. Hope you understand what an H2 tag is. Something.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. And you have a P tag right there. HTML. That is what this is, an article. You won't necessarily see it on the this thing. Where's my screen? Look at it. This is the article here, which you have up here. Can you see it, Samson?
Yes,
This is the
please.
article. It's just just need to define that you have an article somewhere. It's not really on your screen. You won't see the difference on your screen. It's just a syntax wrapping it all together. Do you get it? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, I did. I did.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
it also goes for the section. The footer is just probably the footer is just one of the things that is just different because the footer goes, as the name implies, it goes to the down part of the page, which is this. And your footer on most websites, that's what contains their copyright and some other non-informational stuff. Can you see it? The footer, this is the ending of the page. That is what the footer actually contains. So in most cases, you will see companies put their copyright, the year, and other things right in front there. So, does anyone have a question? Think we have really been overwhelmed this morning, and some people are kind of confused. I don't want to go for that. Okay, Paul, you have a question. Yeah, you said you have a question earlier on. So can you just unmute and speak?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, I've written down like maybe 4 questions, but I was waiting for you to finish and say, oh, you should ask questions before I ask, so that you not take you back to where you began. I don't know.
All right, go ahead. I'm listening to your questions.
Okay, my first question is on the UL.
Okay.
When you talk about the UL, can someone change the bullet? Because UL is like bullet points in Microsoft, kind of get. Can someone change the bullet? If you do not want the dark dots on that the UL, can you change it to another thing, or must this icon to change it? Something like in Microsoft, when you use a bullet, or it's like we have different kinds of icons. I don't know, different kind of type of bullet. So can we change it?
Yeah. You can actually change. Okay, that's the first one. Just
Okay.
ask your question.
Okay. The second question is on the BR, the break that you use.
Yeah.
You say the break is an inline element, right?
Yeah.
So does it mean that, for example, now I do not can I use any other thing to break a line apart from the BR?
Yes, you can.
Okay. My question number 3. The bold, you tried the bold, it didn't work. So
Yeah.
you also we now tried the strong and the
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
So what's now the difference between using the bold, the emphasis, the M, and the strong? Is there any difference between the M, the strong, and the bold?
Okay.
Then the last
That's
question,
number.
please. The last question here.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, so you mentioned something about the SEO, that is search engine optimization, that if we should always something about meta being key into SEO. I don't know, but can you throw more light on that so that I'll understand, please?
Okay. Your first question on the UL is that you can actually change it, because it's just the same way you're changing the format in your Microsoft Word. That's the same way you're going to change the format in your HTML. But you might not necessarily have to. Sorry, mute your mic, Paul. You can use either a dot, a circle. You are going to change it in your CSS basically. And most times you just when you are using a UL like that, you always remove it because it's not doing anything. When you use a UL tag, you just remove it eventually. You just remove those dotted lines. Just use, when we get to CSS, we use something called text decoration 0, none, text decoration none. And the dot is removed. Your second question, based on the emphasize, the bold, the strong. Okay, the emphasize is that when you make your text italic in your Microsoft Word, that is the same way the EM tag is for. Let me write this. That is the same way the EM tag is. Let me put an emphasize here. It stands for emphasize, but we just shorten it to EM. That is what this EM tag is for. So you can see that sorry, I didn't get who is the person that asked the question? Paul, yeah. You can see that this ending of the page is kind of italic. It's kind of slanted a little bit. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Very clear.
Yeah, that is what the emphasize is for. You can you can also make it italic. That is, I think IL or IT. Most times that's for HTML. That's why it's advisable to change everything in your CSS. So that is what the emphasize is for. For the difference between the bold and the strong, they are the same thing. It's just they do the same thing. It's just to make your text bold over time. You can either use the bold or the strong. Either one you use, it's still going to do the same thing. Are you clear on that one? Okay. Yeah, for your third question, which is search engine optimization, I mentioned that your content, your description has to be in line with what your website does. Now, Google cannot read through when you go to Google search. You just type in a keyword, which is let's say you want to learn HTML, and you just go to Google and you just type HTML. Google is going to search through audio stuff on audio words that is linked to HTML on the web page and begin to search any words that has any file that has HTML inside. Is going to load it up. That's when if you go to Google search, you would see that there's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, up to 50. It is based on how those pages are ranked on your on Google search engine. That is what your meta description does. It gives your page a description which your search engine can read through. Also, what that description does is once you go to a web page, that's when I use this MDN documentation which I searched on Google for, is that once you write MDN documentation, you can see this first line here. It is the description of the full website. Even before you go to the website, you have a full description of what it does. For this HTML, you can see that there are other sub pages under MDN documentation, MDN web documentation, which is HTML. Just wrote hypertext markup language is the basic. So once you click on it, it takes you directly to the page, which has that information in it. So it gives your users a brief description about your website before going into it. Do you understand that, my explanation, Paul? Oh, sorry, I missed your fourth question. What is your fourth question?
Yeah, the first question was about the BR. I said, can you break if you don't like if because you use it on a span,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying that without the BR, can a span or any other inline element, inline tag or be broken apart from the BR?
No. There is no tag that can break an inline tag except from the BR. That is what is used to give it a line break. Pre-tag, what is a pre-tag? Isong, what is a pre-tag?
Okay. Can you hear me? Good afternoon.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I saw an article that said that we can use a pre-tag to break the lines automatically if not using BR. That's why I asked.
Well, there are so many stuff online which you can always read about that. So yeah, it might be possible, but I've not used a pre-tag before. What I've always been using is a break tag. Yeah, you can also use this symbol which Steven is dropping in the chat box, which is the and sign NSBP. Yeah, you can also make use of that sign actually. So those are the two ways you can break. But the most popular one which people use is the break tag. So this what's the name? These symbols, you have to go to a place to go and search for the symbol or write it down. But the straightforward way to do it is break tag. And once you have done the break tag, you are done. Yeah, so Paul, do you still have a question before we call it a day? Or does anyone have a question before we call it a day? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, Damilala, go
I want to
ahead.
ask that. I just want to ask, like, it's just like a general question, but if you want to, what's the best size someone can maintain for his web browser? What is that size that you can maintain for your web browser when you are coding?
When you say size, how do you
That's
mean
it.
size?
Like sometimes when I want to.
If you are speaking, I can't hear
Hello?
you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said whenever I want to use like probably what you taught us now, I now like use the live server to get my browser. Like that my browser, which what's the size that I should maintain for that my browser?
You don't need to maintain any size
Like
on
the
your
browser
browser
that is there.
except you are working on different screen size. When you are talking about size of browser, that is screen sizes. For now, we are still in HTML and CSS. We are still in HTML. We are not talking about screen sizes yet. By the time we get into CSS, that's when we talk about screen sizes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Steven, your question, please.
All right. Please, I want you to throw more light on that table part.
Yeah.
That table part.
Which part is that? Table.
Table, yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's your question with the table?
Yeah, I want to understand how you added some of these styles in it. How you added some of those styles, the styles on it, colors and.
Okay, I added it up right here. This is it. I added something called an inline style. I told you not to bother about it, though. I don't bother about it. By the time we get to CXS in the next class, you would understand this better. So it's just these few lines of code. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of code I wrote that gave us that style which you have on the table. So it's nothing really serious for now until we get to CSS. You understand it better. So hope I answered your question, Steven. I don't want us to dive into CSS at this point, but we will definitely get it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Sirat, please unmute and speak.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
afternoon.
the question that guy asked, he didn't ask very well. He was meant to say, what web browser can we use? That is it the best that we can use? Because there are different web browser, Chrome,
Yeah, okay. I get your question.
Firefox, things like that. So what is trying to ask is that which one is the best to use to open our HTML? That's what he wanted to ask.
Okay, well, it's based on your preference, actually. It's based on your preference, actually. So most times, everybody uses 90% of people on the web uses Chrome, which I am one of them. I have Safari on my system. I have Internet Explorer, but I prefer to use Chrome over every one of them. It's just personal preference. You can use any web browser of your choice, but Chrome takes the day. Brave, anyone you can use. So far, it is giving you what you want. They are all the same. So there's no discrimination. It's just based on personal preference. Yeah, so thank you very much for today's class. Does anyone still have any question before we call it a day?